Tensions in Turkey's southern borders with Syria had been moving toward the boiling point for a while. Ankara had warned several times that it would not accept any effort toward the establishment of a Kurdish state in northern Syria. And when signs emerged that the U.S. was planning to create a Kurdish border force, Ankara knew that it was time to act. Heavy artillery was accordingly moved to the south in what was seen as a preparation of a major cross-border offensive. But a military attack against the Kurds that are strongly supported by the U.S. is very unlikely not to draw a response from Washington. And with that, a surge in tensions between the U.S. and Turkey over Kurds could be just around the corner.
This has the potential for very serious entanglements in due course, because it seems that Recep Tayyip Erdogan is pretty serious in his intention to prevent the establishment of a de facto Kurdish statelet along Turkey's southeastern border. To him, this is an existential issue and not just a piece of political short-term trickery.
In the wake of the Turkish military movements in its southern borders, Kurdish forces announced that they were ready to defend their towns against troops sent by Ankara. They also announced that they would not be intimidated by Erdogan's threats of military action. Meanwhile, the U.S. refreshed its support for the Kurds in Syria. The country's top diplomat has emphasized that its military presence in Syria will be long-term. Washington's pretext for doing so, as revealed in comments by its top diplomat, preventing the re-emergence of Daesh terrorist groups and its likes.
To me, this looks like a classic example of mission creep, where the United States starts with only a few hundred trainers and advisors for Kurdish forces, and then gradually it starts expanding their mission. Now, this is in marked contrast to what candidate Trump had announced as his intention, which was to stay out of the Syrian conflict altogether.
To many, Turkey's military action against the Kurds in Syria would usher in a new political chaos in the region. This could draw a response from the U.S. that has been an ally of Turkey for long, and could even spread to trigger action from NATO, in which both are members. It could even provoke a response from Russia, that has been a long-time ally of the Kurds, and that would be in face of recent overtures by Ankara toward Moscow.
The key issue is whether the Turks will conclude that they require airstrikes to beef up their ground forces. If they do that, that means they will have to ask the Russians for the green light. If they go so far as to request the Russian permit to use Turkish aircraft in action against US-supported forces on the ground, this will open a whole new game in northern Syria, because it would mean that de facto, if not formally, the Russians, who are of course there to support President Bashar al-Assad and his government, are allied or at least tacitly complicit in Turkey's action against the Kurdish forces which are supported by the United States. It would really mean that Turkey has crossed the Rubicon and that a whole new chapter is being opened in Turkish-US relations. From that point on, if it happens, we can no longer regard Turkey as a de facto, not de jure member of the Western Alliance.
It appears that the situation in Syria is not going to return to normalcy anytime soon. The complexities in and around the country appears to remain deep into the foreseen future, and the fact that a new front is opening in the north has already plunged the fate of international efforts to end the multiple-year war in the country into serious doubts.